The Upachaya houses, Conscious Growth with Time, Aries Rising, Part 1, where fire meets friction and potential sharpens through pressure. For Aries Rising, the Upachaya houses 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 11th become stages of conscious development. Unlike the natural spontaneity of Aries, which initiates without thinking, these houses demand engagement, repetition, resilience, and often discomfort. They are the battlegrounds where ego refines into skill, impatience matures into discipline, and self-direction transforms into social contribution. Because they grow stronger with age, their gifts are not granted, they are earned. Let us step through these houses as they unfold through the Martian psyche of Aries. The 3rd house, Gemini, the tactical mind, skilled hands, and courage built in silence. Activated ages 3, 15, 27, 39, 51, 63, 75. Gemini, ruled by Mercury, governs Aries. 3rd house, the domain of courage, skill, effort, and siblings. Here, Mars energy is refined through communication, dexterity, and intellectual sharpness. This is not about brute force, but targeted motion, writing with speed, reacting with precision, speaking with impact. Early life might reflect scattered efforts or unchanneled energy, but as Aries matures, they learn to use words as weapons, skills as shields, and silence as a strategy. By the mid-30s, the impulsive fighter learns to think tactically. These natives must cultivate emotional detachment when dealing with siblings, neighbors, or peers, turning instinctive reaction into strategic dialogue. Mercury, ruling this house, teaches Aries to coordinate their mind and hands, to write, trade, network, and express with precision. When evolved, Aries rising can become masterful communicators, persuasive negotiators, or technical experts. The battlefield becomes the boardroom, the page, or the microphone. The 6th house, Virgo, the arena of daily combat and the intelligence of routine. Activated ages 6, 18, 30, 42, 54, 66, 78. Virgo, also ruled by Mercury, governs the 6th house of Aries. This is the karmic dustbin where enemies, diseases, debts, and deadlines pile up. Initially, Aries may resist structure, despising routine or control. But this house demands repetition, refinement, and service, not just speed. Over time, this is where Aries learns humble discipline. Mars, impatient by nature, must learn to be detail-oriented, health-conscious, and strategic in battles of the body and mind. The 6th house is not for glory, it is for grinding. The courage of Aries meets the intelligence of hygiene. This includes food discipline, work process, and facing conflict with grace. By midlife, if awakened, Aries rising becomes formidable in crisis management, medical fields, legal work, or service roles requiring problem-solving under pressure. Their competitive edge sharpens through consistency, not just fire. The 10th house, Capricorn, reputation forged by responsibility. Activated ages 10, 22, 34, 46, 58, 70, 82. In Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, Aries meets its test of patience. The 10th house, house of karma, career, and public reputation, demands slow-burn ambition. This is where Mars meets Saturn, impulse meets order, and the lone warrior becomes a respected leader. In youth, Aries may clash with authority or rush career choices, but Saturn does not reward rebellion. It rewards resilience. Through delays, disappointments, and repeated failures, Aries learns the art of long-term mastery. The instinct to conquer must become the ability to build. By 34 or 46, those who've done the work begin to hold positions of influence. Public image solidifies. They may rise in government, administration, engineering, or any field requiring toughness, strategy, and planning. If unevolved, there can be career instability, arrogance, or a fear of exposure. But if evolved, the Aries native becomes a master of execution, strategic, reliable, and respected. The 11th house, Aquarius, gains through vision, collective thinking, and unorthodox brotherhood. Activated ages 11, 23, 35, 47, 59, 71, 83 at Aquarius, ruled by Saturn and co-ruled by Rahu, governs the 11th house of gains, networks, and higher aspirations. For Aries, this is the house where the lone warrior becomes a team builder, where impulsive action transforms into visionary contribution. In early years, friendships may be erratic, gains inconsistent, or desires impulsively formed. But with age, Aries learns that true success requires alliances, structure, and strategy. Saturn teaches planning. Rahu adds futuristic thinking. Their combined influence compels Aries to align personal ambition with collective evolution. Here, Mars must learn to fight for a cause, not just an ego trip. The warrior becomes a social entrepreneur, tech innovator, or institutional reformer. By 35 and beyond, the Aries rising can become a powerhouse of influence, leveraging networks, digital platforms, or organizational systems to amplify their mission. When balanced, this house brings not just profits, but legacy. Closing note, from impulse to impact. The Upachaya houses for Aries rising are not kind, they are crucibles. The energy of Mars is tested by Mercury's scrutiny and Saturn's delays, but through each trial, something profound happens. The warrior evolves into a tactician, the lone ranger becomes a builder, and speed matures into strategy. In Part 2, we'll explore how planetary placements within these Upachaya houses modify the path, what it means when Saturn sits in the 10th, or Mercury rules both the 3rd and 6th, or how Rahu reshapes the 11th. But for now, remember, time is the teacher, pressure the tool, and growth for Aries comes not through ease, but through earned excellence. The Upachaya houses, Conscious Growth with Time, Aries Rising Part 2. The Alchemy of Conflict, How Growth is Forged in Friction and Refined by Repetition. For Aries Rising, the Upachaya houses, 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 11th, are not spaces of ease. They are zones of friction, repetition, karma, and test. Their very nature requires action, failure, confrontation, and return. Aries, ruled by Mars, brings fire to these domains. But unlike the first house, where identity ignites, these houses demand that fire be tempered through skill, service, structure, and society. Each house holds unique planetary combinations that can either catalyze profound yogas or reveal hidden imbalances. Let's begin with the 3rd house, the first arena where effort becomes evolution. Chash the 3rd house, Gemini, courage, skill, and the testing of will through communication. Active ages 3, 15, 27, 39, 51, 63, 75. For Aries rising, Gemini rules the 3rd house, a mutable air sign governed by Mercury. Here, Mars energy must learn tactical restraint, thoughtful timing, and skillful action. Early life brings raw action, impulsive words, and sibling tension. But with maturity, Aries rising transforms into a communicator warrior, strategic, persuasive, and resilient in the face of setbacks. Key conjunctions in the 3rd house. Mars plus Mercury, the sharp strategist or the verbal combatant. This is the native swordsmith of speech. When balanced, it creates a technically gifted speaker, writer, coder, or entrepreneur, someone who acts fast and speaks with clarity. But when afflicted, it breeds harsh speech, restlessness, and unfiltered reactions. Growth arises when courage is balanced with tact and curiosity is not confused with compulsiveness. Sun Mars, the commander of words or the tyrant of opinion. This pairing gives powerful confidence in communication, possibly leading to leadership through expression. Yet if ego dominates, it can lead to stubbornness, dominating siblings, or reckless self-promotion. The evolved form uses voice as authority, not noise. Moon plus Mercury, the mindful communicator or the emotionally distracted speaker. This grants storytelling ability, emotional writing, and sibling empathy. But afflicted, it creates mental fluctuations and difficulty focusing on tasks. Speech may carry emotional instability unless tethered to grounded effort. Saturn Mercury, the technical mind or the fearful expressor. An excellent yoga for deep research, methodical writing, and analytical brilliance, especially in fields like law, coding, or language learning. But early life may bring speech delays, sibling karma, or fear of self-expression. Over time, this matures into a voice that waits to speak but cannot be ignored. Rahu plus Mars, the digital warrior or the reaction addict. In today's age, this conjunction is often seen in social media strategists, digital campaigners, or those drawn to sharp-tongued online debates. But the line between clever and caustic is thin. Maturity is found in slowing down the reaction time and converting edge into innovation. In summary for the 3rd house, the 3rd house matures through repetition. For Aries rising, it turns raw fire into crafted skill. Planetary conjunctions here test courage, not through war, but through persistence, dialogue, and learning to fight with the pen or platform. Maturity comes when the desire to win gives way to the desire to influence, and words become weapons of creation, not destruction. Next, we explore the 6th house Virgo, where Aries rising must learn discipline through conflict, and where even enemies are karmic tutors. Here, illness, litigation, and stress are not random, they are diagnostics. In Part 3, we'll dissect the defining conjunctions in this house and how they reveal the battle between control and chaos. The Upachaya houses, Conscious Growth with Time, Aries Rising, Part 3. The sixth house, Virgo, Discipline through Conflict, Patience through Pressure, where fire meets detail and instinct becomes intellect in service. For Aries Rising, the sixth house and Upachaya falls in Virgo, an earthy and mutable sign ruled by Mercury. This is the house of enemies, illness, competition, debts, service, and routines. While Mars craves bold conquest, the sixth house demands tedious refinement. It is not a battlefield of glory, but of daily discipline. This is where Aries learns to slow down to win, to repeat to refine, and to fight invisible wars, with stress, bad habits, mental loops, and physical breakdowns. The house gets better with time, but only if the native accepts humility as a sharpening stone. Let us now examine the defining conjunctions in Virgo, 6th house, that test and transform the Aries rising. Key conjunctions in the 6th house, Virgo. Mars plus Mercury, the precision fighter or the anxious executor. This is a classic yoga of strategy, especially for litigators, healthcare professionals, engineers, and sports people. Mars brings action, Mercury brings logic. In Virgo, this pairing can solve through service, but afflicted, it creates nervous aggression, short tempers, acidic digestion, overthinking, or constant argumentativeness at work. Mastery emerges when logic and will combine, not clash. Mars, Saturn, the strategic worker or the bitter burnout. These two natural enemies, one fast, one slow, can create great tension in the 6th. But when matured, this grants tremendous endurance for difficult service, delayed success in litigation, or a career in fields like surgery, engineering, or military medicine. If afflicted, it manifests as chronic health issues, workplace resentment, or extreme rigidity. The evolved soul learns to persist through structure, not just force. Moon plus Mercury, the healer of minds or the hypochondriac. This pairing lends itself to nurturing through thought, ideal for counseling, teaching, or therapeutic fields. But afflicted, it makes one overly sensitive to criticism, erratic in routines, or obsessive about health. Liberation occurs when the native stops trying to fix everything and instead balances empathy with execution. Venus plus Mercury, the aesthetic organizer or the people-pleasing overworker. These benefics can create a charming, service-oriented individual who brings grace to routine, ideal for nurses, designers in wellness spaces, or those who serve through art. But if afflicted, this creates passive aggression, burnout from being too agreeable, or neglect of self. The lesson? Serving others doesn't mean shrinking yourself. Sun Saturn, the humble leader or the overburdened perfectionist. A powerful yoga if matured, the disciplined executive, health system reformer, or policy-oriented servant leader. Yet in early life, this brings insecurity, suppressed ambition, and clashes with authority. Healing begins when the Aries rising no longer treats service as punishment, but as structure for purpose. Rahu Mercury, the tech-savvy rebel or the overstimulated mind. Here, Aries rising becomes obsessively logical, excellent for research, diagnostics, analytics, or work in AI, digital systems, or diagnostics. But Rahu's shadow can bring mental exhaustion, sleep irregularities, or unethical tactics to win in the workplace. Clarity emerges when the mind is grounded in daily rhythm, not driven by chaos. Moon plus Rahu, the empathic crisis magnet or the karmic nurse. This deeply karmic conjunction brings emotional entanglements in service, especially with female coworkers, patients, or the emotionally wounded. Great for spiritual caregiving or trauma counseling, but risky if the native over-identifies with others' suffering. The key is emotional boundaries inside practical service. In summary for the 6th house, Virgo in the 6th house teaches Aries rising to refine before reacting, serve before seeking, analyze before asserting. This is where Martian pride learns humility, where instinct learns procedure, and where conflict becomes curriculum. Every illness, delay, or enemy is an X-ray of karma. Each routine, diet, or discipline is a stitch in the fabric of healing. Aries rising cannot conquer this house through speed, but through sacrifice, skill, and systemic thinking. Next, the 10th house Capricorn, when fire climbs the mountain. In Part 4, we'll explore how Aries rising is tested in the realm of career, status, and public karma. This is where Mars meets Saturn again, and where ambition must mature into accountability. We'll analyze defining yogas that elevate or exhaust depending on how responsibility is worn. The Upachaya houses, Conscious Growth with Time, Aries Rising, Part 4. The 10th house, Capricorn, Karma as Reputation, Responsibility as Power, where Mars must earn its crown not through war, but through discipline. For Aries Rising, the 10th house, Karma Bhava, falls in Capricorn, a cardinal earth sign ruled by Saturn. This is the zenith of visibility, the house of career, status, public life, and social contribution. And here, the fire of Mars meets the slow, cold, enduring pressure of Saturn. The 10th is not a house that rewards enthusiasm. It rewards accountability. It is where Aries must learn that energy without endurance is a spark that fizzles, and that authority is not seized, but built through structure over time. Let us now examine the most defining conjunctions in the 10th for Aries rising and how they shape legacy, labor, and leadership. Key conjunctions in the 10th house, Capricorn. Sun plus Saturn, the quiet king or the suppressed leader. This is the tension between personal identity, Sun, and karmic duty, Saturn. If evolved, it creates a deeply respected figure, one who leads from discipline, not ego. If afflicted, it causes invisibility, suppressed willpower, or chronic dissatisfaction at work. Aries rising must learn to let merit replace recognition, to shine through mastery, not noise. Mars-Saturn, the long-distance commander or the frustrated workhorse, an intense yoga of pressure and power. Mars wants to move, Saturn wants to stay. When synchronized, this creates relentless drive, great in engineering, construction, medicine, sports, or armed services. If imbalanced, it leads to workplace resentment, authoritarianism, or bone-deep fatigue. Evolution comes when Aries learns to push through resistance, not against it. Moon-Saturn, the responsible healer or the workaholic with emotional armor. This conjunction brings emotional resilience in the workplace, but also a tendency to suppress vulnerability. Aries rising may feel burdened by early responsibility, carry maternal karmas into career, or emotionally over-identify with their work. Wisdom arises when they allow emotion to inform, but not dominate, public responsibility. Mercury plus Saturn, the planner of systems or the cynic of progress. Ideal for strategy-based careers, law, policy, analytics, data and administration. When matured, it creates a mind that builds frameworks that last. But afflicted, it creates pessimism, procrastination, or fear of failure. Aries must learn to trust delayed results and replace perfectionism with consistency. Venus-Saturn, the elegant professional or the artistic prisoner. This pairing can create a refined, patient, and respected artist, designer, or leader in financial, aesthetic, or beauty-related professions. But it can also signal emotional austerity, repression of desires, or loneliness in public success. Fulfillment arrives when Aries realizes that grace under pressure is not suppression, but precision. Mars plus Mercury, the tactical executive or the verbal fighter. In Capricorn, Mercury gains practicality and Mars gets strategy. Together, they birth sharp administrators, digital entrepreneurs, or tech leaders who can lead with logic. But if afflicted, the native may clash with coworkers, speak too rashly, or burn out from excessive multitasking. Clarity comes when ambition is anchored in systems, not spasms. Rahu-Saturn, the system disruptor or the karmic climber. A potent yoga for unconventional success. Rahu amplifies ambition, Saturn disciplines it. When balanced, this creates reformers, government disruptors, or startup founders with a karmic hunger to remake institutions. When imbalanced, it brings deception, obsession with image, or manipulation. Maturity is found in truthful structure, not synthetic power. In summary, for the 10th house, Capricorn teaches Aries rising that the highest peaks are not reached by fire, but by footsteps that return, refine, and repeat. Mars wants to rise, but Saturn ensures that it lasts. In this house, Aries learns the difference between noise and nobility, between a job and a legacy. The 10th is a temple of public karma. Conjunctions here define what kind of leader Aries becomes. Some seek the throne, others build the kingdom. Next, the 11th house, Aquarius, legacy through vision, friendship as fuel. In Part 5, we'll explore Aquarius in the 11th, where the lone Mars must now become a networked force. We'll study conjunctions that influence innovation, group dynamics, and the karmas of community. For Aries rising, this is where rebellion becomes revolution and ambition becomes collective upliftment. The Upachaya houses conscious growth with time, Aries rising part 5. The 11th house, Aquarius, collective karma, visionary gains, and the social sword, where Mars must share the spotlight and harness the crowd for a cause. For Aries rising, the 11th house, the final Upachaya, falls in Aquarius, a fixed air sign ruled by Saturn and co-ruled by Rahu. This is the house of long-term goals, network circles, social recognition, income from effort, and collective karma. Unlike the fiery self-direction of Aries' first house, the 11th demands collaboration. Here, gains don't come through lone action, but through alliances, systems, and social ingenuity. This house tests whether Aries rising can outgrow self-centric ambition and align with universal progress. It asks, will you fight for personal glory or for the collective vision? Let's explore the 8 most defining conjunctions in Aquarius' 11th house, where Aries rising meets karmic allies, strange mentors, and unexpected revolutions. Key conjunctions in the 11th house, Aquarius: Saturn plus Sun, the visionary statesman or the conflicted authority. This yoga brings disciplined ambition aimed at collective influence, ideal for leadership in government, NGOs, or social movements. But it also pits ego Sun against limitation Saturn. If afflicted, Aries may struggle with self-worth tied to public approval or feel burdened by group responsibilities. Evolution comes when they realize servant leadership earns truer recognition than self-promotion. Saturn plus Mercury, the logical networker or the calculated insider. This creates an intellectual builder of systems. Engineers, social scientists, community strategists. Communication becomes infrastructure. But afflicted, it leads to coldness in friendships, overcalculating social worth, or karmic fallout from manipulative networking. Maturity arrives when intellect serves collective purpose, not transactional gain. Saturn plus Mars, the builder of empires or the rebel without rest. These planetary enemies can forge unstoppable resilience when mature, especially in activism, engineering, logistics, or defense sectors. Yet early life brings friction with authority, strained friendships, or slow material progress. When refined, Aries rising becomes the social architect of reform, not just a disruptor. Rahu plus Mercury, the viral strategist or the information hacker. Here comes the marketing genius, influencer, tech-savvy innovator. Rahu brings futuristic hunger. Mercury brings mental dexterity. In the 11th, this creates digital entrepreneurs, social media mavens, and brilliant unconventional thinkers. But if afflicted, it brings deceitful messaging, manipulation in networks, or obsession with follower count. Liberation dawns when the message becomes service, not spectacle. Rahu's Sun, the celebrity activist or the ego-driven iconoclast. This yoga craves recognition through eccentricity. Aries rising may rise through controversy, public spectacle, or niche fame, but this hunger must be purified. If afflicted, it produces arrogance or rebellion for rebellion's sake. When refined, it creates a torchbearer, someone whose visibility sparks true reform. Venus-Saturn, the social diplomat or the silent outsider. A grounding influence for Aries rising, this pairing fosters refined friendships, artistic collaborations, and long-term social loyalty. It's good for gains through art, diplomacy, or institutional work. Yet it may also create loneliness within groups or fear of social vulnerability. Harmony is found when discipline meets elegance, and connection is prioritized over approval. Moon plus Rahu, the emotional revolutionary or the people pleaser in disguise. This creates a karmic attachment to public affection or collective causes, ideal for spiritual teachers, influencers, or those who hold emotional space for many. But afflicted, it results in popularity addiction, groupthink anxiety, or emotional manipulation within communities. Freedom comes when Aries rising anchors their emotional worth internally, not in applause. Sun plus Venus, the social charmer or the vanity visionary. This attractive pairing blesses Aries with grace, recognition, and aesthetic power in public roles, ideal for art, media, design, or causes combining creativity with influence. But if unevolved, it breeds vanity, attention-seeking, or shallow friendships. Maturity comes when beauty is used to elevate truth, not just self-image. In summary, for the 11th house. The 11th house for Aries rising is where ambition learns to cooperate. It's where the Martian sword must be sheathed to draft policy, raise funds, or build community tech. Here, ego is tested against the needs of the group. Aries rising matures when it realizes the leader who serves the collective becomes immortal, not just famous. Aquarius in this house teaches the logic of liberation. And the conjunctions here decide whether Aries will be a rebel for rent or a reformer with roots. Closing thoughts on Upachaya for Aries rising. The Upachaya houses offer no shortcuts. They grow only through time, error, return, and effort. For Aries rising, they refine raw instinct into tactical skill, 3rd, humble service, 6th, dignified legacy, 10th, and visionary contribution, 11th. These are the fires that don't just burn, but build.